You have been taught that you are a physical body living in a material world, and that your life is a struggle within that world. I am here to tell you that this, the most fundamental assumption of your entire existence, is a complete and utter illusion. What you perceive as solid, separate, and real is none of these things. The world you see, the body you feel, even the very thoughts you are thinking right now, they are not what you believe them to be. They are all appearances within a single, infinite, and all-encompassing reality. There is only one substance, one life, one activity in all of creation, and that is consciousness itself. Everything is consciousness. If this sounds abstract or difficult to grasp, then you must listen closely, for what you are about to discover will utterly transform your understanding of who you are and forever change your experience of life. For your entire life, you have been presented with a narrative so convincing, so seemingly self-evident, that to question it feels like a form of madness. You open your eyes in the morning and you see a world of solid objects, the walls of your room, the trees outside your window, the physical form of your own hand. You move through your day interacting with this world as if it were the ultimate reality. You bump into a table, and the pain is real. You work to earn a currency you can hold. You nourish a body that gets tired and ages. This entire experience is built upon the foundational assumption that you are a physical entity housed in a physical body, navigating a physical universe. This is the grand illusion, the universal hypnosis that must be seen through before any real spiritual progress can be made. This is not to say that the experience itself is not valid. The pain from stubbing your toe is undeniably part of your experience. But the critical error, the fundamental misperception, is to assign ultimate reality to the table and the toe. We believe the universe is composed of dead, inert matter, and that consciousness is a rare and fleeting spark within it, a lonely byproduct of a complex biological computer we call a brain. This is the great lie of materialism. It is a perspective that looks at the shadow on the wall and believes it is the substance. The truth is the exact inverse. Consciousness is not in the body is in consciousness. The world is not outside of you, independent and separate. It appears within the field of your awareness, which is itself a localized expression of the infinite, universal consciousness. Consider for a moment the simple act of dreaming. In your dream, you are also a person in a body navigating a world. That dream world has its own laws of physics. You can feel joy, fear, heat, and cold. You can interact with other seemingly separate beings. In the moment of the dream, it is utterly real to you. It is only upon waking that you realize the entire panorama. The dream landscapes, the dream characters, even your own dream body, was a magnificent, convincing, and completely immaterial projection of your own mind. Nothing in that dream was solid or separate from the consciousness that was dreaming it. The waking state, what you call your real life, is precisely the same kind of phenomenon, merely occurring at a different level of vibration, a more consistent and collectively agreed, upon dream. This understanding shatters the very foundation of your perceived problems. Your struggles with lack, with sickness, with conflict, all stem from the belief that you are a vulnerable fragment of life, a small physical self pitted against a vast physical universe that is often indifferent or hostile. You believe you must fight the world to get what you need, to protect what you have, to survive. But if the world itself is not the primary reality, then fighting it is the ultimate act of futility. It is like a character in a video game trying to fight the computer screen. The real power, the real substance, is not in the pixels on the screen, but in the electricity and the code, the consciousness that brings them into being. Your daily life is filled with subtle clues pointing to this truth, if you have the eyes to see. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt a certain atmosphere? Perhaps one of tension or one of peace, without a single word being spoken. You are not sensing physical objects, but a quality of consciousness. A great work of art or a piece of music moves you not because of the paint on the canvas or the vibrations in the air, but because it transmits a specific frequency of consciousness from the artist to you. When you have a sudden intuition or a flash of creative insight, where does it come from? It does not feel like a linear, logical conclusion manufactured by your brain. It feels like a reception, a download from a deeper, wiser field of knowing. These are not supernatural events. They are moments when the veil of the physical illusion thins, and you get a direct glimpse of the conscious reality underlying it all. The table is still hard. The body still feels hunger, but these are experiences within consciousness, not proofs of a separate material reality. The transformation begins when you stop relating to the world as a collection of external objects and start recognizing it as a flow of internal experience, appearing in the mirror of your awareness. The person you argue with, the financial situation you worry about, the body you care for, they are all images in the mind, thoughts made manifest. To change the image, you do not start by manipulating the image. You return to the source of the light that projects it. This is the great journey, the only journey that truly matters, the journey from being a victim of a world you never made to becoming the conscious witness and ultimately the conscious creator of all that appears in your experience. This recognition that the world of separate forms is an illusion naturally leads us to the one and only question that matters. What then is real? If the table is not ultimately solid, if the body is not the final truth of our identity, what is the substance of this universe? We are not left with a void, a nihilistic nothingness. We are brought face to face with the one irreducible, undeniable fact of all existence, the fact of awareness itself. Before any object is known, there is the knowing. Before any sound is heard, there is the hearing. This foundational capacity for experience, this field of pure, unadulterated knowing, is the one reality. It is consciousness itself, and it is not merely a property of your brain. It is the very substance from which all things are formed. To understand, this is to perform the greatest alchemy in human thought. You are asked to shift your perception from the seen to the seer, from the object to the subject. The entire visible universe, the swirling galaxies, the majestic mountains, the people you love, the very device you are using to read these words, all of it is not primary reality. It is the expression of a primary reality. Just as an ocean wave is not a separate entity from the ocean, but a temporary form the ocean itself takes, every person, place, and thing is a temporary form that consciousness itself is taking. The wave has no independent substance. Its substance is the ocean. In the same way, the forms of our world have no independent substance. Their only substance is consciousness. It is the invisible, animating principle that gives life, form, and intelligence to all that is. Let this sink in with a practical example from your own life. Consider a simple wooden chair. The materialist view sees a collection of atoms arranged in a certain pattern, a dead object. But let us trace its existence back to its source. The wood came from a tree. What animated that tree? It was not the soil and the water, for these are also just forms. It was the invisible life force, the intelligence within the seed that knew how to draw minerals from the earth and convert sunlight into energy, the consciousness that expressed itself as a tree, a human being, imbued with a conscious idea of a place to sit, then harnessed that same intelligence in their own mind to shape the wood. The chair, therefore, is not a dead object. It is a solidified thought, a physical manifestation of an idea that first existed in the unseen realm of consciousness, brought into form through the agency of a conscious being. Its true substance, from its origin as a tree to its fulfillment as a chair, is consciousness. This principle applies to everything you encounter. The money in your bank account is not paper or digital digits. Its entire value, its entire existence, is a shared agreement in consciousness. It is a symbol of trust and exchanged energy that only has power because we all collectively consent in consciousness to believe in its power. The moment that collective agreement in consciousness dissolves, the paper becomes worthless. The illness in your body, while it feels intensely physical, did not originate in the physical. It was preceded by a state of consciousness, perhaps a prolonged period of fear or stress or a deeply held belief in vulnerability. The physical symptom is the end result, the outer manifestation of an inner, invisible activity. To treat only the physical symptom is to paint over rust. To address the state of consciousness is to transform the very metal. This is the ultimate empowerment and the ultimate responsibility. You are not a passive recipient of a random material world. You are a localized center of activity within the one infinite consciousness. And you are constantly interacting with this field, shaping it and being shaped by it through your beliefs, your feelings, and your state of awareness. When you feel stuck in any situation, you are not a prisoner of external circumstances. You are encountering the solidified form of a past state of your own consciousness. The way forward is not to fight the form with greater force, but to return to the level of cause, to the realm of consciousness itself, and to alter the vibration there. By shifting your inner state from fear to faith, from lack to abundance, from hostility to love, you are not merely changing your mood. You are literally altering the very substance of your universe, instructing the one consciousness to reorganize and manifest as new, harmonious forms in your experience. You are learning to work not with effects, but with cause. If consciousness is the only true substance, as we have established, then the world you perceive with your senses must be understood in an entirely new light. It is not a separate, independent reality that you are observing from a distance. The world is a projection, a living, moving picture cast upon the screen of your own awareness. Just as a film projector takes the images encoded on a reel of film and magnifies them onto a large screen, giving them the appearance of substance and life, so too does the infinite nature of consciousness project the forms and events of your experience into the field of your perception. The world you see is the outward manifestation of an inner, invisible activity of mind. This is not a philosophical abstraction. It is the very mechanics of your daily existence. Consider the simple, undeniable fact that you have never experienced a world outside of your own awareness of it. Every sunset you have ever admired, every conversation you have ever had, every joy and every sorrow has occurred within the boundless space of your own consciousness. You have no proof of an external world apart from your perception of it. The tree falling in the forest with no one to hear it makes no sound, because sound is an interpretation of air vibrations within a conscious mind. Without consciousness, there is only silent, meaningless vibration. The entire universe, for you, exists within the confines of your own knowing. This is not a solipsistic isolation, but a profound recognition that the one consciousness is appearing to itself as you and as your world. The mind that perceives and the world that is perceived are one and the same substance, appearing as two. This understanding brings a radical reinterpretation of your daily conflicts. You believe you are in a struggle with other people, with economic forces, with your own body. But if the world is a projection of mind, then you are, in truth, only ever facing a mirror. The person who angers you is showing you a hidden aspect of your own consciousness that is calling out for reconciliation. The situation of lack is an externalization of a deeply held belief in scarcity within your own mind. The body's ailment is the physical embodiment of a discordant pattern of thought or belief. To fight with the reflection is as futile as arguing with your image in a glass. You can make faces at it, you can shout at it, but the only way to change the reflection is to change the face that is being reflected. The world does not need to be fixed. The mind that projects the world needs to be healed. You can observe this principle at work in the most mundane moments. Have you ever woken up in a certain mood, perhaps feeling irritable or gloomy, and then noticed how the entire world seemed to conform to that state? Strangers were rude. Traffic was infuriating. Everything seemed to go wrong. Then, on another day, you wake up feeling light and joyful. And miraculously, the world is a friendly place. People are helpful and opportunities abound. The external circumstances did not fundamentally change. The filter of your consciousness, through which you perceived them, changed. You were projecting a different world because a different state of mind was operating the projector. Your beliefs act as the filter on the lens, coloring and shaping everything you see. A belief in danger will project a threatening world. A belief in love will project a benevolent one. This is the great secret behind visionaries, artists, and innovators. They are not merely people who see the same world as everyone else, but think more creatively about it. They literally perceive a different world because they are functioning from a different state of consciousness. Where others see an empty lot, a developer sees a building. Where others see a problem, an inventor sees a solution. They are not manipulating a solid, external reality. They are holding a new concept, a new idea, so clearly in their own mind, in their own consciousness, that this inner reality eventually manifests as the outer projection. They have learned, often intuitively, that to change the world, one must first change the mind that is projecting it. Your life, in this very moment, is not a random set of circumstances happening to you. It is a perfect, precise, and dynamic projection of the total content of your own consciousness, revealing to you everything you need to see about your own inner state. It is a perfect feedback mechanism designed not for judgment, but for awakening. If the world is a projection of mind, and consciousness is the only substance, then the most pressing inquiry of your life must become who is the one that is aware of all this? Who is this? You. That perceives the projection, that experiences the flow of thoughts, that feels the sensations of the body. This is the pivotal question, the turning point upon which your entire spiritual journey rests. You have been conditioned to believe that you are the temporary character in the movie. The body with its name, its history, its accomplishments, and its failures. But this is a case of mistaken identity, a profound confusion that is the source of all suffering. You are not the character on the screen. You are the silent, boundless awareness in which the entire movie is appearing. Awakening to your true identity is the realization that you are not a fragment of consciousness, but consciousness itself, having a localized human experience. This is not an intellectual concept to be believed, but a living reality to be uncovered. It requires a radical shift in your sense of self, a movement from identifying with the objects in awareness to resting as awareness itself. Begin by looking within right now. Notice the stream of thoughts passing through your mind. Worries about the future, memories of the past, judgments about these very words. Can you see that you are the one who is aware of these thoughts? They come and they go, but the awareness that witnesses them remains. Notice sensations in your body, an itch, a pressure, a feeling of warmth or coolness. These sensations arise and pass away within your awareness. You are the knowing space in which they appear. Even powerful emotions like anger or fear are not who you are. They are temporary weather, patterns that move through the vast, open sky of your true nature. You are the sky, not the weather. This realization is the great liberation. All of the burdens you carry are burdens you have mistakenly accepted as your own. You believe you are the one who is anxious, when in truth, anxiety is merely a condition appearing to you. You believe you are a failure, when that is simply a story playing out on the screen of your mind. When you stop identifying with the content of the movie, the struggles of the character, its limited resources, its fragile body, you are instantly freed from its tyranny. The problems do not necessarily vanish from the projection, but they lose their power over you. A problem that belongs to a small, separate self is a catastrophe. The same event, witnessed by the infinite awareness that you are, is simply a passing scene. This is the peace that passes all understanding. It is not a peace that comes from everything in your life being perfect. It is the peace of knowing that you are not the vulnerable character to whom these things are happening. This truth has immediate, practical consequences in your daily life. Consider a moment of intense conflict with another person. When you are identified as the separate self, the ego, the encounter is a battle of wills. You are defending your position, your pride, your story. But from the standpoint of your true identity as pure awareness, what is actually happening? You are consciousness, and you are encountering another form of that very same consciousness, temporarily lost in the dream of being a separate character. The entire conflict is a dance of one consciousness with itself. From this perspective, the need to be right, to win, to defend, simply evaporates. It is replaced by a compassionate witnessing and a clarity of action that is not born of personal reaction, but of a higher wisdom. You can act, and act decisively, but you are no longer acting from the cramped, fearful place of the ego. Every moment of your life is an opportunity to practice this shift in identity. When a wave of lack washes over you, instead of saying, "I am broke," you can step back and witness the thought. There is a thought of lack appearing. When the body feels pain, instead of crying out, "I am in pain," you can rest as the awareness that is conscious of the sensation of pain. This is not denial. It is the highest form of clarity. It is the process of identifying with the projection and abiding as the projector. You begin to live from the inside out. Instead of the outer world dictating your inner state, you're abiding as pure, silent, limitless consciousness begins to reorganize the outer projection. You are no longer a leaf blown by the winds of circumstance. You are the stillness at the center of the storm, and from that stillness, you discover a power and a grace that the separate self could never comprehend. The profound realization that you are not a physical entity navigating a material world, but rather consciousness itself, forever changes the axis of your entire existence. This is not a passive understanding to be filed away as a spiritual theory. It is the most active and transformative principle you will ever encounter. It demands a complete reversal of how you approach life. The entire human experience is built upon the premise of living from the outside. In the external world presents a circumstance, and you, the separate self, react to it. You wait for something outside of you to change in order to feel peace inside. You seek external validation to feel worthy. You accumulate possessions to feel secure. This is the treadmill of the old life. The new life, the life lived from the standpoint of your true identity, operates in the exact opposite direction. It is the practice of living from the unseen to the seen, from the formless cause to the formed effect. This is the great secret behind all authentic spiritual power and demonstration. You are no longer at the effect of the world. You become the cause in your own experience. The world of form, the seen, is the world of effects. It is the end result of a chain of causation that originates in the invisible realm of consciousness. To try to change your life by manipulating the effects is like trying to change the reflection in a mirror by polishing the glass. The only lasting change occurs when you go back to the source, the face, the consciousness that is being reflected. Your primary work, therefore, shifts from managing circumstances to mastering your state of awareness. Your inner world of thought, feeling, and belief is not a private, hidden sanctuary. It is the active, creative engine of your entire universe. Consider a practical challenge you may be facing right now, perhaps a financial limitation. The outer world effect-based approaches to frantically search for more work, to cut back on spending, to worry and strategize from a place of anxiety and lack. This is trying to rearrange the furniture in a burning building. The consciousness-based, cause-based approach is entirely different. You begin by turning your attention completely away from the external evidence of lack. You refuse to let the projection dictate your reality. You consciously, deliberately, and consistently shift your inner state. You move from the consciousness of lack to the consciousness of abundance. This is not positive thinking. It is a profound act of spiritual realization. You acknowledge that the substance of all supply is consciousness itself, and you align your awareness with its infinite, overflowing nature. You feel the feeling of abundance. You give thanks for the invisible substance already flowing to you. You act as if you are a clear conduit for this one energy. You live from the unseen reality of infinite supply toward the seen world, and you watch in quiet confidence as the outer forms, new opportunities, unexpected provisions, creative solutions, must inevitably reorganize to conform to your new inner cause. This same principle applies to healing. The medical world deals primarily with the seen, the symptoms in the body. And while this work is important and valuable, it is still working at the level of effect. The consciousness approach goes to the root. If the body is a manifestation of consciousness, then a state of dis-ease in the body is the physical representation of a state of dis-ease in consciousness. perhaps a belief in vulnerability, a deep-seated fear, or a pattern of self-condemnation. The work of healing, then, is to address that inner state. You don't fight the illness. You become still and know the truth of your being as whole, perfect, and expressing the harmonious pattern of the one life. You flood your awareness with the feeling of life and vitality. You consciously release the fearful thoughts and forgive the old wounds. You are, in essence, changing the blueprint in the unseen, and the physical structure, the body, has no choice but to follow, to reorganize itself according to the new, harmonious pattern you are holding in consciousness. Your entire day becomes a laboratory for this practice. When you feel a reactive emotion like anger rising because of someone else's words, you pause. Instead of allowing the external event to trigger the internal storm, the old outside in pattern, you reverse the flow. You turn within. You connect with the silent, peaceful awareness that you are. From that inner citadel of peace, you then allow your words and actions to flow outward. Your response is now generated from the unseen and expressed into the seen. You are no longer a puppet whose strings are pulled by the world. You are the puppeteer, conscious of the one hand that moves all forms. You begin to understand that your power does not lie in your ability to control outer events, but in your unwavering capacity to maintain a specific state of consciousness regardless of what those events may be. This is how you become a conscious co-creator with the infinite, shaping your world not by force, but by the quiet, irresistible power of your own aligned being. The ultimate question, then, is not whether these principles are true, but whether they are practical. Can this recognition that everything is consciousness actually function in the gritty reality of daily life? Can it put food on the table, heal a broken body, or bring peace to a troubled mind? This is the frontier where theory meets demonstration, where spiritual understanding ceases to be a philosophy and becomes a lived, breathing reality. The truth is not an escape from the world of experience. It is the very means by which that world is transformed. You are not called to deny the challenges you face, but to meet them from an entirely new level of authority, from the very source from which they spring. The practical demonstration of this truth begins with a simple but profound shift in your focus. Instead of concentrating all your energy on the problem itself, the difficult person, the lack of funds, the physical pain, you learn to turn your gaze inward to the quality of your own consciousness in that moment. You ask yourself not, how can I fix this? But what state of awareness am I embodying that is projecting this as my experience? This is the pivotal move from being a victim of effect to becoming the master of cause. The problem, no matter how solid it appears, is recognized as an effect, a shadow. Your work is always and only with the light that casts it. Let this become your new methodology. When you are confronted with a limitation, your first action is not to plunge into the outer world and struggle. Your first action is to become still. In that stillness, you consciously withdraw the power you have given to the external appearance. You refuse to accept its verdict as final. You then actively, deliberately cultivate the opposite state of consciousness within yourself, faced with a problem that screams confinement. You inwardly dwell in the conscious awareness of freedom. You do not merely think about freedom. You let the feeling of liberty, of boundless life, fill your entire being. You become so saturated with this inner reality that the outer picture, for a time, loses its grip on you. You are no longer looking at the prison walls, you are feeling the expanse of the open sky. This is not denial, it is the activation of a higher fact. This is the spiritual practice that replaces begging with receiving. You are not a beggar pleading with a distant God to change your circumstances. You are a conscious individual recognizing your oneness with the source and aligning your own awareness with the reality you wish to see manifest. You are tuning your instrument to a different frequency. When you need supply, you do not focus on the empty wallet. You still your mind and become a conscious vessel for the feeling of abundance. You give thanks for the infinite, invisible substance that is the very fabric of the universe, and you know yourself to be an open channel for its expression. You may then be moved to take a practical outer step. Make a phone call, send an email. But that action will not be born of desperation. It will flow from an inner certainty, and it will be charged with the power of your consciousness, making it magnetic and effective. The same process applies to relationships. When you encounter hostility, the old way was to return the hostility, to defend and attack. The new way is to recognize the call for love hidden within the other's behavior. You turn within and, regardless of their actions, you become a conscious center of impersonal love and forgiveness.